The Yanomami are the most numerous, relatively isolated people in South America, with around 35,000 individuals. However, they are one of the Amazonian peoples at risk of extinction. As a result of a series of past and present phenomena, the Yanomami ethnic group is one of the social groups at risk of disappearing due to tropical diseases such as malaria, precarious living conditions, malnutrition, fishing, livestock, and illegal mining taking place in the natural area where they live. According to Brazilian government estimates, 570 Yanomami children have died in the last 4 years. These problems also affect certain isolated Amazon tribes we have discussed on the channel, which have a much smaller population than the Yanomami. Stay tuned to learn more about the Yanomami, why they are in danger of disappearing, their living conditions, and much more. Number 1. The Yanomami are distributed across about 250 isolated villages from each other and the rest of the world. They are located in the Amazon rainforest on the border between Venezuela and Brazil. With approximately 2.7 million square miles, the Amazon is considered the largest tropical rainforest in the world. It is spread across 9 countries: Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Guyana, Peru, Suriname, and Venezuela. The 9th is French Guiana, which, as the name suggests, is a dependency of France. On November 11, 2011, the Amazon was declared one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. With this recognition, only the Iguazu Falls between Argentina and Brazil accompany it in Latin America. Number 2. Unfortunately, the Yanomami have been victims of human greed and their own environmental conditions. One of the problems they have faced as an ethnic group has been illegal mining, as their area is rich in natural resources. Many valuable raw materials necessary for modern society can be found here. One of these is gold, which for decades has attracted adventurers of all kinds to extract and trade it. Most miners have settled illegally, and when confronted with resistance from the indigenous peoples of the New World, they have resorted to weapons and destroyed entire settlements and ecosystems. Illegal mining is associated with a higher incidence of infectious diseases and water contamination with mercury, as well as the risk of encountering armed miners. Number 3. Another recurring problem has been plagues and diseases. As they are such isolated areas from large populations and with such a distinctive culture, you might think their health risks are few. However, their limited contact with other civilizations and people outside their respective villages has allowed the spread of diseases to which they have not been prepared to face. Their natural environment is so pure that there is nothing in it to make them immune to contamination from other latitudes, causing countless Yanomami to die from diseases and plagues. Number 4. In Brazil, the government recently declared an emergency in response to what they have called a genocide against this Amazonian ethnicity. Hundreds of Yanomami children have died in recent years from mercury contamination in the water, malnutrition, malaria, acute diarrhea, and pneumonia. The main cause of this tragedy has been illegal gold mining in this natural reserve. Number 5. In the 1970s, Brazilian garimpeiros, or small independent miners, began entering Yanomami territory. Since this tribe considers nature sacred and rejects the intrusion of other cultures, they had strong clashes with them. Today, this is known as one of the saddest episodes for the Yanomami community. The result of these skirmishes was the death of many indigenous people and environmental degradation. Number 6. As a consequence of the economic crisis that has been affecting Venezuela for several years, various indigenous settlements have been impacted. Their subsistence-based economic activity has not been sufficient to support their families, and cases of malnutrition have been recorded on Venezuelan soil. Likewise, part of the migratory phenomenon the Caribbean country is experiencing due to this crisis has been carried out by its indigenous peoples. Number 7. Their isolation is so extreme that even among the Yanomami communities themselves, there is no reciprocal contact. That is, each village leads its life separate from the others. They are an ethnic group that cannot be considered a homogeneous or united group, but rather clans organized politically, economically, and socially in an autonomous manner. Number 8. The Yanomami also have a long history of violence within their own ranks. In fact, the earliest studies conducted on them suggest several episodes of aggression and internal conflicts. From their perspective, war carries the moral obligation to seek revenge. Some of the possible causes have been specific historical situations they have suffered, and the occasional scarcity of food. If we add to this the almost constant external threats, we come across a true warrior society. Number 9. The Yanomami violence was alluded to in the controversial 1980 film Cannibal Holocaust, directed by Ruggero Deodato. The image is somewhat strong, but in the film, the natives practiced endo-cannibalism. Number 10. In Brazil, their human settlements are located between the states of Amazonas and Roraima, 2 of the 26 states that, together with the federal district, form this country. Both political administrative divisions are located in the northwestern Brazilian region. The sum of both territorial areas is approximately 695,000 square miles in size. But if we take into account the territory they occupy, it is only 3,861 square miles. The capital of the state of Amazonas in Brazil is the city of Manaus. It has nearly 2 million inhabitants, making it the most populous urban agglomeration in the Amazon region. In turn, the capital of Roraima is called Boa Vista. It houses about 300,000 inhabitants and is the only capital of Brazilian federal entity located north of the equator. Number 11. On the Venezuelan side of the border, Yanomami villages are located in the indigenous state of Amazonas, one of the 23 federal entities that, together with the capital district, make up Venezuela. This territory entity recognizes Spanish and Amerindian languages as official languages, as it is one of the Venezuelan areas with the largest number of indigenous people. In this territory of almost 77,220 square miles, the Yanomami population represents almost a fifth of the total indigenous population. Considering that the area they occupy is the Alto Orinoco Cassiquiare Biosphere Reserve, they have only about 32,818 square miles for themselves. The capital of the Venezuelan Amazonas is called Puerto Ayacucho. With more than 100,000 inhabitants, it brings together around 60% of the population of the entity, leaving the rest of the state reduced to small settlements, tribes, and jungle. Number 12. The area occupied by the Yanomami, both in Venezuela and Brazil, makes it one of the largest indigenous jungle territories in the world. Likewise, the union of these 3 political entities houses dozens of different indigenous ethnic groups besides the Yanomami, making it an important ethnic and cultural reserve for humanity. Number 13. The Yanomami live in chabonos, which make up their village. It consists of a circular structure surrounding an open space for recreation in the middle, like the one you're seeing. Their life is communal, and within the structure, they build partitions for families. Number 14. The origin of the term Yanomami comes from the Italian Salesian missions that were responsible for the Catholic missions in the Yanomami region. It is also said to come from the word Yanomami Thepe, which means human beings. This expression contrasts with the concepts of Yarrow, which are hunting animals, Nepe, which means enemy or foreigner, and Yai, which refers to invisible or nameless beings. Had you heard about this tribe before? Number 15. The Yanomami's livelihood is based on hunting, gathering, and fishing. Of these 3 elements, the least important part of their diet is the meat obtained from hunting. In fact, less than 1/10 of their food comes from this source. However, hunting is considered a prestigious activity within the tribe, and its members enjoy the moments when they consume meat. Furthermore, it should not be overlooked that they develop large gardens at the expense of reducing their natural surroundings. Number 16. The 2 types of hunting practiced by the Yanomami are Rami and Heneyomau. The former is more frequent, as it ensures their daily meat needs. It is usually practiced in the vicinity of the village and requires relatively little time. The latter is a special hunt for rituals, accompanied by dances that men perform while camping in a place rarely visited by the tribe. Number 17. The Yanomami have developed botanical knowledge, enabling them to grow crops, build houses, prepare natural medicines, and create other useful artifacts for their daily lives. The Amazonian soil is not known for its fertility, yet they manage to make the most of it. Their agricultural production is primarily based on yams, plantains, and taro. Number 18. Since the Amazonian soil is not very fertile, they move their crops to nearby lands after a few years to take advantage of the few nutrients present in these new soils. This condition has turned them into a nomadic people, frequently moving within the Amazon rainforest, and their settlements are often not permanent. Number 19. Due to their subsistence agricultural activities and knowledge of their natural environment, they are not obligated to trade or maintain relations with other indigenous peoples in the area. In this sense, they are self-sufficient and do not need contact with the outside world. Thus, their isolation is not only from other civilizations, but also from other native tribes. Number 20. Another recurring food source for the Yanomami is larvae. They have discovered mechanisms to increase larvae reproduction and make them available for consumption. Number 21. The traditional diet of this ethnic group is very low in salt. For this reason, their blood pressure is among the lowest of any demographic group in the world, which has sparked the interest of the scientific community to study the possible link between low sodium intake and hypertension. Number 22. The Yanomami do not speak a single language. In reality, Yanomamin languages comprise 4 varieties: Ninam, Waika, Sanuma, and Yanomamo. Of course, each has local dialects, but initially if indigenous people from different villages were to come together and converse, they probably would not understand each other. Another curious fact about their language is that its origins are unclear, and the 4 languages are not related to any other native languages. Number 23. Regarding their internal organization and hierarchy, elders are the most respected and followed for their wisdom and experience. They often serve as shamans, counselors, or political authorities within their respective villages. The Tukzawa is the leader or chief of the community. They do not interfere in the affairs of other Yanomami villages, but focus strictly on their own. They obtain this responsibility by demonstrating the ability to resolve disputes among community members and in relations to the outside world. They usually rely on the support of older men to act as assertively as possible. Number 24. The clothing of the Yanomami is suited to their environment. Adapted to a tropical and jungle climate, they wear light garments. In reality, their clothing does not cover much of their bodies. Its purpose is more ornamental and aesthetic. Men wear branches and ropes wrapped around different parts of the body, and a guayuko, a type of local loincloth. In turn, women also do not wear much clothing. They often paint parts of their bodies, wear necklaces, earrings, and feathers on their heads. Feathers tend to be associated with the male gender, and flowers with the female. Number 25. Yanomami music is not very abundant. Rudimentary and ancestral, it is based on pentatonic and tritonic scales. The instruments used are the shaman's sacred maraca and the buzzing stick. In singing, animals can be imitated, and both individual and collective singing are allowed. Number 26. The Yanomami are also often identified by their height. They are considered one of the ethnic groups in the Americas with the shortest average height, at only around 4 feet and 11 inches tall. Number 27. One of the first people dedicated to the research of this Latin American ethnic group was the German ethnologist Theodor Koch-Grunberg in the early 20th century. Later, in the mid-century, other expeditions were carried out in Brazilian territory. Remember that this is an isolated ethnic group and is not easily accessible to outsiders, making research difficult and contributing to the scarcity of information about them. Number 28. As with most indigenous American peoples, tasks are divided according to gender. Men are responsible for hunting, clearing the jungle for crops, and performing the tribe's more physically demanding skills, while women tend to the crops, gather in the forest, and create handicrafts. Both men and women can fish, using a poison called curare, or fish during tribal fishing trips. In this sense, they have egalitarian practices. Number 29. Women give birth in the jungle or near the village if it is nighttime. Children stay close to their mothers during their first years of life. In fact, they sleep with their mothers until they turn 5, at which point they receive a hammock of their own. Mothers are responsible for raising and caring for the children. All children are allowed to play and learn from other children in the community. Number 30. Another factor contributing to their relatively small population and threat of extinction is the practice of infanticide, when a baby is born deformed, when twins or triplets are born, or when births are premature. This is one of their traditions that can threaten the survival of their people. Number 31. Regarding personal relationships among their members, you might be surprised by how they are conducted. Several Yanomami villages openly accept polyandry and polygamy. The former means that a woman can be married to several men at the same time. This is a less common practice in the world than polygamy, but is normal among the Yanomami people. The latter suggests that a man can be married to several women at the same time. There is no specific marriage ritual as such. It is formalized by taking down the hammock from where it was and placing it where it should be, next to the couple. This can be done by either the man or the woman depending on the chosen place to live. Number 33. Yanomami mythology is very rich and well preserved, despite the challenges. Some indigenous people in the area have converted to other religions over the centuries, especially Christianity. However, the ancestral beliefs of the Yanomami describe the origins of the firmament and the tepui, as well as the exploits of Makunema, one of their main deities. Number 34. From the perspective of their beliefs, the earthly and spiritual world is composed of 4 overlapping and differentiated cosmic layers. The existence of the Yanomami is an intermediate layer. The firmament is the other intermediate layer. As for them, it is a stage of gestation. The lower layer consists of water, as it represents the world of moisture and decay. The upper layer is the world connected to the sky, where human souls and the means of life for the Yanomami coexist. Number 35. To celebrate their magical and traditional rituals, they consume the virola plant, native to the South American jungle and with clear hallucinogenic properties. It is used by shamans for healing rituals, communicating with their ancestors, and learning about their future. It is introduced in powder form through the nostrils by blowing it with a hollow stick, and must be consumed in small quantities due to its effects. Women are not included in this practice. It is considered a male task. Number 36. One of the Yanomami customs that will most likely astonish you is their practice of cremating their dead. This is not the striking part, as it actually happens in many cultures, including those in the Western Hemisphere. What is curious is that they then make a drink with the ashes, which supposedly transfers the spirit and good energies of the deceased to those who consume it. The process, in broad terms, is as follows. The body is wrapped in leaves and placed in the forest. After about 40 days, the bones are collected and incinerated so that the ashes can be mixed with banana juice. The ashes are stored in a gourd, and the ritual can be repeated indefinitely until they run out. To continue learning more about isolated Amazonian tribes in danger, visit this video about the Moxie Ha Tatema.